hit the go live button. There you go.
If you want to be a part of our live Ask Me Anything, where you ask Stephen Pope, that's me, a question live on camera, join this link with StreamYard. Once you join inside of StreamYard, we can only have a maximum of 10 people in at any given time. And so you'll enter into our private chat and say, hey, I want to ask Stephen about this. I want to ask him about PPC, SEO design, catalog troubles, whatever it might be. I then will select your question and add you into my stream. After we finish our conversation, I'll remove you from the stream and you can continue watching here on YouTube. We want to rotate through as many people as possible and offer a format that's never been done before. Basically, it's like the radio. When somebody calls up, asks their question, they go on the air, and they do the next interview side by side. I want to be able to talk to as many Amazon sellers as possible because I love talking to Amazon sellers. So that's why we brought this StreamYard format along. So again, just log in with a link in StreamYard. We'll have that link at the top of this video here in the comment section. If you want to be alerted about the link to join StreamYard or you want to be alerted about other Amazon news, go over to myamazonguy.com/subscribe. Put your email address in right here. That's our newsletter. We reach thousands of Amazon sellers and virtual assistants and everybody that wants to learn about things that are happening in the Amazon space. And as a heads up, if you join the StreamYard and don't ask a question in the chat within 2 minutes, we're going to remove you because we're capped with the number of people that can join the StreamYard. So if you just want to watch, you don't want to ask a question on camera, just watch here at YouTube, youtube.com/myamazonguy. If you want to be a part of our live Ask Me Anything, where you ask Stephen Pope, that's me, a question live on camera, join this link with StreamYard. Once you join inside of StreamYard, we can only have a maximum of 10 people in at any given time. And so you'll enter into our private chat and say, hey, I want to ask Stephen about this. I want to ask him about PPC, SEO design, catalog troubles, whatever it might be. I then will select your question and add you into my stream. After we finish our conversation, I'll remove you from the stream and you can continue watching here on YouTube. We want to rotate through as many people as possible and offer a format that's never been done before. Basically, it's like the radio. When somebody calls up, asks their question, they go on the air, and they do the next interview side by side. I want to be able to talk to as many Amazon sellers as possible because I love talking to Amazon sellers. So that's why we brought this StreamYard format along. So again, just log in with a link in StreamYard. We'll have that link at the top of this video here in the comment section. If you want to be alerted about the link to join StreamYard or you want to be alerted about other Amazon news, go over to myamazonguy.com/subscribe and put your email address in right here. That's our newsletter. We reach thousands of Amazon sellers and virtual assistants and everybody that wants to learn about things that are happening in the Amazon space. And as a heads up, if you join the StreamYard and don't ask a question in the chat within 2 minutes, we're going to remove you because we're capped with the number of people that can join the StreamYard. So if you just want to watch, you don't want to ask a question on camera, just watch here at YouTube, youtube.com/myamazonguy. Welcome to our AMA today. My name is Stephen Pope. I'm joined with Kevin Sanderson, our VP of Marketing at My Amazon Guy. Today, it's a format we haven't done before in a long time. We're going to bring on live guests to ask me any question. Today's theme is about agencies, how to run an agency. We're also launching a new program called My Agency Guy, but first we're going to prioritize your questions, and at the very end, we'll tell you more about Agency Guy. So Kevin will be here to help me out with that. Thanks for joining us. Behind the scenes, we got two people ready to ask me questions, just so we go over the rules here. What we're going to do is we're going to have you post the question in the backstage that you want to bring on and ask. I'll bring you on as a guest. We'll talk for somewhere between 5 and 15 minutes, depending on how many are in queue. And then you'll leave the YouTube studio in StreamYard, and you can continue watching that following on YouTube. So just like we had in the intro there, a lot of live people want to know how to grow an Amazon agency. A lot of questions coming in the queue. Love this question about how to grow leads and how we first got started. All those good things coming up. So we're going to bring our first guest on. Kevin, who's going to be our first guest?
We are deciding. So I just want to throw out another housekeeping note. If you are one of our guests who's in the back, all you got to do is you'll see a private chat, and just tell us what the question is that you want to know ahead of time. So, looks like we've got Ferris.
I think we're ready, man.
Yes,
Hello.
I think we're ready.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah.
All right. Welcome to the chat.
All right,
Thanks.
Kevin, you'll be behind the scenes here. We'll bring Ferris on the queue here. So how can I help? Go ahead and toss your agency question.
Yeah, so I guess the big picture question is how big of a role does outreach, like cold email and calls, play in your new client funnel compared to inbound? And then micro is, I'm presuming you do some type of outreach. Do you find Amazon data particularly challenging to scrape because of the costs? Without getting micro, like I've used tools where it's really expensive hiring VAs.
All right, great question. So just to make sure I frame the most appropriate answer to you, how big is your agency today? Whatever you're comfortable sharing.
Oh, yeah. Basically, we're a smaller agency, about 5 people, and I'm basically getting back into the industry after taking a break.
Okay. Yeah. All right, so you're ready to put on the wipers and get this thing going. Cool. So when I first started out, I did 0 ads. I didn't pay for Google ads. I didn't do any outbound at all in the first 2 years. All I did was make content on YouTube. I didn't even post on LinkedIn at that point very much. Although the very first client I got when I started my Amazon guide was off a LinkedIn post. I went on there and said, hey, I'm between jobs. I'm going to start consulting. If anybody needs help with Amazon, let me know. Right? Very classic thing to do. Guy down in Texas named Kevin Strawbridge saw my post. He referred me over to my first client, which was a publicly traded supplements company. I signed a contract in the first 48 hours of that LinkedIn post going up for $3,000 USD a month, and I was off to the races. So super fun, easy going, exciting beginning. I was generating $43,000 in monthly MRR within 90 days using this strategy. Post lots of content. The very first video I loaded to YouTube was how to build a brand store. They were brand new back then, 5 years ago. And it today is still my most viewed video, even though I was like a single dude at that point. I didn't know, I wasn't even a designer. I was just like, yeah, you just load these modules, do this and this. So when I'm first starting out, I think the best, most ideal thing is keep your costs down and build out SEO and user-generated content. Now, you want to get more sophisticated, and I got the sense to that, so I'll go deeper. I do buy a lot of lists. I probably have the largest Amazon seller database in the world with as much information that is possibly available. I started an outbound program about 2 years ago, and it's very sophisticated. We do a lot of personalized sales outreach. However, I am a little secretive about that component. And so I'm going to sell how to do that in a program called My Agency Guy. So I'm not going to answer that question publicly, but I will say this for now. The amount of sales that I generate in 2023 is 60% outbound and 40% inbound, with YouTube being the primary driver. And in the first 2 years, it was 100% inbound. I may have spent over the last 5 years a grand total of $10,000 on paid ads. That's it. And most of them were failed tests, right? Maybe like pushing a video on YouTube, stuff like that. So go ahead and give me a follow-up there. What more would you like to hear? Does that help?
I think it helps tremendously. I guess if you can't say too much about outbound, maybe just from like a timeline standpoint, is how do you deal with long sales cycles where if you kind of send somebody a note and they're in a year sales cycle that sounds thirsty, like you don't want to burn the relationship.
So you have to keep a touch point. I would say, with the year, maybe every 3 months up until it gets closer would be appropriate. With a year's sales cycle, you're going for larger clients, most likely. The clientele that I hit was probably more in the mid-tier, right? So like the premium mid-tier, if you will. So I'm not chock full of Fortune 500 companies at MAG, right? We have a mid-tier base with an average MRR of probably $3,700. And so our clientele and who we're hitting, most of them are not locked into contracts. In addition to that, I only lock my own clients into contracts for 3 months plus a rolling 30-day out. And so I have 400 clients that I have currently today. And so I know and I believe that the best way to keep clients is to just constantly add value, right? Like, you're only as good as your last delivery as an agency. And the moment you stop delivering value, they fire you, right? And so you have to have that monthly shock wow factor, or at least constant delivery, right? Like delivery of results. So those year contracts, I mean, there's a lot of ways you could pick at it, right? You could ask them, questions like poke the bear, so to speak, like, hey, what are you doing to take up horizontal real estate on your Amazon listing today? Right? Really good question, because nobody has an answer to that. Most people don't even know, what do you mean horizontal real estate? Right? And if I share my screen and demonstrate that, this is a sales tactic that you could use today as an agency, as you're going after content, is just learning how to ask a question that they cannot answer, that gets them thinking that maybe they need your help, right? Because if you go at them and say, hey, do you need an agency? They're going to be like, no, I'm good. So horizontal real estate can be done in the brand story. It can also be done in the A+ content, but primarily in the brand story. There are 19 modules you can fill out here. So if you ask a question, let's say I was the agency, you were the prospect, and I said, hey, would love to work with you. Oh, I'm locked into a year contract. Yeah, no problem. What are you doing to solve horizontal real estate on Amazon today? And they will think to themselves, my agency doesn't do that. They don't talk about that. And then they'll ask you a probing question, and then you get on a phone call, and then you can start pitching them sub-sales, right? Maybe you can't take the full contract over. Maybe they're locked into a year deal like you mentioned, but you can at least supplant the idea that there's additional value available. A little bit of horizontal real estate in the A+ content, not as major. But the reason horizontal real estate matters is because the consumer is trained to click on these products right here. And you want them to click on your products instead of the competitor ads right there. You could also fill in some defensive ads and do some other things there. So I would, generally speaking, if somebody was telling me not now, I would follow up every 6 weeks. If it's a year out, you're going to have to probably poke the bear a little bit more and get your foot in the door and start with a smaller project or something like that.
So I guess one follow-up question, and this is just from like a big picture standpoint, is what you were saying, a 3,700 MRR, you're talking about the agency fee, I think, right?
Correct.
What revenue range do you think is easiest to break into? Is it as simple as the lowest, the better? Or do you want somebody who's like well above 10K per month in sales so that like they can actually afford to pay you?
So when I first started out, I did a lot of launches because nobody else wants to do launches. It's dirty work. 1 out of 3 will succeed. 2 out of 3 will not be able to make a profit, realize a profit in the first 12 months. These are numbers and stats that nobody's talking about, but that's the reality. When you launch your brand on Amazon from scratch, you have a 33% chance for success. So a lot of agencies get a bad rap when the 2 out of 3 fail and they blame the agency. Well, that's kind of the point and purpose of an agency, right? Is to take the flack, be hired to be fired, so to speak. So with that in mind, it just depends on what your goals are, right? If your goal is to make money, it doesn't matter what target you go after. You could go after any of them and make money. But if your goal was to have a particular agency type, a lifestyle, maybe you want to focus on PPC and do a PPC only agency. Mina Elias with Trivium does a really good job as a PPC only agency. And he and I have dialogues all the time. He's like, should I start doing troubleshooting orders? I'm like, you don't really want to deal with this stuff if you don't have experience. Like, man alive, listing yanks. No, like we'll get more negative reviews on Trustpilot from a listing yank order, even though it's the smallest part of my business. And people are like, well, why do I still offer that service? And it's because I don't want to ever lose a customer. I want to be a service and a provider and offer all these things. I offer trademarks. I offer all kinds of random stuff. So I guess I'll turn this question on you for a second. What do you want to be?
Well, it's interesting you asked that. My ICP is a little complicated because basically my background is in Meta and Google Ads. And I helped one client become a category leader on Amazon. within their like consumer electronics sub vertical. And so what I'm trying to identify is what subset of Amazon sellers are most likely to also purchase meta ads. Are those
Very different. Yeah.
brands that already have huge budgets? And basically, I was trying to lead with the pitch of become a category leader on Amazon by forgetting about Amazon, by having a partnership with an AMS agency and managing the Facebook ads. Hopefully that answers it.
So you're going to be very niche. You're going to be focusing on a very specific type of brand that is not going to purchase a general agency, right? So like your customer is not my customer. For example, I don't do Facebook ads. I never want to. My Facebook guy, not interested. Also, even if I did do it, I would be a 7 out of 10 at best. Because you're niching down and you have that background, you're going to be a 10 out of 10 delivering Facebook value, especially if you're delivering Facebook ads driving to Amazon results. Now, there are a couple of tools out there that do really good. Carbon 6 has got one. There's Amped PD or something like that. I forget the name of it officially. So there's a lot of tools that are driving Google ads, maybe some Facebook ads as well over into the Amazon ecosystem. And it is a very necessary next step for a lot of Amazon sellers. But most sellers are going to ignore this. And the ones that are going to do it are going to need that budget to be able to afford you, right? Somebody that's never launched a Facebook ad before is probably not going to hire you. So you're going to want to go out and buy lists of people that spend money on Facebook today who also have an e-commerce brand and sell products and are on Amazon, right? So you know exactly the niche you're going to go down. As for how you penetrate that market, I would recommend probably two things. Build a crap ton of content answering the top 10 problems or challenges that your clients have, demonstrate your expertise. And second, go out and poke the bear, go out and cold call, go out and email and challenge the prospects to ask them questions that make them think that there is some value out there that they lack. If you, for example, if you go in and somebody's got a bad paint job on their car and you start saying, hey, you got a bad paint job on your car, hire my service to make your car prettier. They're going to be defensive. They're not going to probably want to engage with you. But if you start asking questions like, so do you prefer to use X wax or Y wax on your car? And all of a sudden they want to talk about their car and their engine and all the cool things. And they get really excited about it. And then you can say, well, have you thought about doing X, Y, Z? Have you thought about waxing it twice a week so it doesn't rust? Well, yeah, actually, it's got a problem. My car's got some challenges. I do need to do some work there. So there is some sales tactics to do, I think, to hit your target. I feel like I'm rambling, so I'll toss it back to you. Anything else you want to hit?
I mean, do you personally see clients that are succeeding with meta ads? And is that something you guys offer or could consider offering for partnerships?
Yes, I've thought about it, but the problem I have is I grow 8% every month and I'm a $20 million agency. And so for me to go out and systematically build these integrated services across the omni-channel is a very tough ask. I'm going to make more money by just sticking to Amazon. So that's good news for you because there's plenty of room for other agencies to come in and attack the market from a very niche standpoint. They would need both of us. They would need you to run Facebook ads, me to run their troubleshooting catalog, SEO, maybe AMS inside of Amazon as a hyper expert there. So there's opportunity. It's not me against you. It's all of us against Amazon. It's a saying. I love saying that. I've said it for years. That's why I'm out here helping other agencies and whatnot. So yeah, I think I have a very positive prognosis for you. You have a very clear vision of where you want to go, and you're going to be able to do it. The question is just going to become, everybody's got a good idea. You got a good idea. Very few can execute. And so your next step is to create a plan, create an org chart, create a customer avatar, and then execute it nonstop.
Okay. Maybe last question, and if it's too out of the box, tell me, but do you think it's a crazy idea for me to reach out to Amazon agencies and ask for partnerships? Or
not a crazy idea. So for example, if you're a TikTok agency watching this clip right now, I want to hear from you because I believe UGC content, user-generated content, is going to be the future of driving cheaper PPC traffic because on Amazon, the PPC space is run out. There's no more room for ads. So the costs are going to keep going up, which means the budgets are going to dry up, not do as well. everybody's going to be mad at their agency because you suck, you can't run PPC. And in reality, it's the market. But that's what the agencies deal with. It's a service-based industry. So we're going to have to pivot some funds. And so I don't want to be dealing with trying to get a hold of 100 TikTok influencers to drive, content and video ads over to Amazon. So I'm going to have to partner with a TikTok agency. And I've been talking to several so far, and I'm really looking forward to that. So yes, I think it's a very good idea for you to partner up. You may even want to talk to really big agencies that do Amazon on the side, like Publicis, very big agencies, and try and hit them and say, hey, if you ever have a client that needs XYZ, we're a service provider, because they can take you and upcharge you 20% or more to their client. And it's just one more arrow in their quiver. So great questions. Glad you came on today. You kicked us off in the perfect vein of helping agencies. We got a few more guests behind the scenes we're going to bring on next. Feel free to continue watching behind the scenes over on YouTube. And thanks for coming on today. All right. So Kevin, who we bringing on next is, it looks like Javi. Are you ready to go, man?
Yeah. Do you hear me?
Yes. Perfect. So tell us a little bit about what you do as an agency and how can I help?
We are a marketplace agency highly focused on Amazon, obviously. It's one of the biggest marketplace on revenues. I was going to ask you first, based on the team structure, right? Once you start growing, I'm thinking, let's say periods such as pandemia, for example, that suddenly there's a lot of highly demand of companies and brands that want to get onboarded, and I mean, you sometimes have to change some process to adapt all that growth. How did you manage the team growth in your agency?
Yeah, this is a really hard question.
And the teams, in a way, to manage all the process involved, because I mean, at the beginning, you're like, let's say you are the hero, right? Everybody knows you, and that's why all the clients come inside. I trust this guy, but I mean, behind you, that's a team, right? And then keeping that team growing, keeping that client, let's say, connected to the agency, regardless that they haven't been in touch with you in a long time. How do you manage all that process with a team?
Okay. So there's kind of two parts to your question. It's like, how do I be the face of the company, but set expectations and get out of that and grow out of it? It's kind of, I'm reading between the lines in your question. And then how do I grow the team? Right. So I'll kind of tackle that in two parts. The best thing that you can do at any given time, or at least how I've done it at my agency to grow, is I always have a plan for growth, right? If for me, the absence of growth is death. I always have to be growing, and I grow 8% month over month, every single month, 5 years running. And I'm super ecstatic about that. It's been very consistent. I've never had an unprofitable month ever in my life. I've never had debt. I also haven't done a lot of things a lot of other agencies have done. I never acquired a company. I never acquired talent, so to speak, by acquiring another agency or another talent vehicle. I built everything internally. Now, not everybody can do that. Not everybody can build systems. And sometimes people are better at relationship building, and maybe that is better for them to go out and do M&A and learn that art. For me, though, I'm a system builder. So I'm a hyper introvert. I do not like building relationships. I like building systems, and then I like putting people in place to maintain those systems. So it stresses me out to maintain systems. I like to come up with the idea, be the visionary, and pass it off. Now, I also, if you've read Traction and some of that stuff, I'm also an integrator. So I'm filling the seat of both visionary and integrator, but it's very taxing. It's very difficult to keep up with that growth. So when I, first started out, I did it in my basement of my home, and I had up to 8 employees in my basement filling my driveway. And then one day, fire marshal came by and said, "Hey, you can't do that. You can't park 8 cars in the cul-de-sac in our neighborhood." And I looked at him and I'm like, "Yeah, you're kind of right." So the next day we went remote, and we've been remote ever since. That was a very big change for us. It opened up the hiring possibilities. No longer had to hire people from my church, no longer had to hire people from my neighborhood. And then I started hiring virtual assistants. I started hiring people all over the world, all over the country. Today I have 400 employees, 350 of which are in the Philippines. So
Wow.
Going a little bit deeper, though, because I think your question is fantastic. It's very difficult to answer it succinctly. How do you grow the team? How do you organize that? So here's a couple of tactics I'll let you take away. Build an org chart for what you have today and an accountability chart for what you have today. And then also have what you're working towards for 12 months down the line. And you have to think about what hires you're going to have to make, where you're going to have roadblocks, and where new bodies, new positions are going to be created. One of the weirdest positions I ever made was QA specialist, quality assurance specialist, right? Your
Yeah.
entire job is just to check to make sure the work matches the SOPs, the standard operating procedures. Pretty boring job for most of us. We wouldn't like that. But
Yeah,
for
but Amazon build them. I mean, they are like the requirements that Amazon gives on the accounts.
yeah. So I also use Culture Index and some other tools to help me along the way. So we have had over 200,000 people apply to work at MAG over the past 5 years. It's a lot of applications to process. We auto decline 56% of them using Culture Index because we know each role requires a certain personality. Some people are going to start like their skin's going to be raising right now, hair on the back of their head. They're like, how can you decide what personalities are going to work for each role? Because I got a lot of data to back that up, right? There's very few exceptions. It's a 90% accuracy from my experience. And so we'll use tools like that to decide, okay, in a troubleshooting role, if your job is to troubleshoot the Amazon catalog and try and figure out how to get the title to stick or reinstate a listing, I know for 100% certainty that the best person for that role is going to be a deductive thinker, typically somebody who's tribal, introverted, patient, and high detail. And the reason that particular craftsman culture index profile is very good for it is because they have to be super patient with Amazon going back and forth. They got to do a lot of customer service going back and forth with the customer, but it's the same grind day in and day out. It's a different problem, which is why you need the deductive thinker, but it's the same rotation over and over and over again. So using tools to format, scoping the vision, trying to get it on paper, get that future org chart written down. A lot of great ways to do that.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Any follow up on that? Is that helpful?
Yeah, I think it's because as you probably know, once you start to grow, you gotta I mean, from our case, we started the typical figure, let's say account managers. Okay, I got an account manager, can manage, let's say 6 accounts, 7 accounts, whatever, depending on the magnitude, right? If it's European or Europe and US, or it's only just one country. But then afterwards that we see that there were a lot of wasting time, not focusing on the strategy side. I think one of the things that I consider as one of the most important parts that I see that really connects you with a long-term basis with the client. And at the beginning, there was a lot of time using it for incidents on content, title, blocks in products, and all that stuff. And we started to divide some process, and we say, okay, these people are gonna go from the back and based on the profile and establishing the process. But the clients were always wanting on, hey, what's gonna be the next step? What is gonna be the let's say next year? What are gonna be doing? New products or new strategies going forward? And that we see that was a lack of missing at the beginning. That we changed it and we put in more the effort on the project manager to focus on the strategy side and having on the back several type of teams regarding on functions, and also combined with technology. That was one of the questions I was going to ask you. Are you using or developing technology in-house for your agency for process or whatever issues that you have?
So I wasted $2 million building a software called Hybrid. And then ChatGPT came out and I looked at the market and I said, by the time I finish this $2 million piece of shit, it's going to be too late. I was trying to rebuild a lot of tools and bring them all in house. I was trying to rebuild Asana, Time Doctor, Helium 10, some components of project management, time management, keyword management, PPC softwares, a lot of different things all in one place. And I shelved it. And it was a very difficult decision.
But I think that it's complicated to compete with these players that their business model is clearly focused on software as a service. No, so like you're an agency putting, okay, I'm gonna do this, but I'm gonna put all of the resources there. So just to help me in some parts. How I see it is we tend to use all the technology available. We use some tools of Carbon 6 and Helium 10 and other ones, but
we
all
use those partners as well.
Yeah, I mean, we use them, but in a way, they do not talk the same language, right? Each software does whatever information. Once you can get it with AP, other ones you just only on Excel and all that stuff. And we think about like, let's say more an internal tool that can connect whatever software I got today or I got tomorrow, build them on an internal process that has the agency, right? To get, let's say, more agile process in order to have all the information together and help the coordination maybe between departments, maybe for the projects. I don't know if
So
I'm going to be doing good or not, but
another best practice I'll give you is you cannot have more than 40 clients per account director. At least that's been my experience. So I have personally talked to well over 200 agencies, and I always like to ask, how many clients do you have? How many account directors do you have? And that ratio, I've never seen anybody be able to perform more than one account director per 40 accounts. And then account managers, brand managers, whatever you guys want to call them, depending on your agency, 6 to 8 clients is a typical average. At my Amazon guy, we average closer to 12 to 13. And I made a strategic decision or a choice to overload the strategy on account managers, kind of like what you were talking about. And then on the same time, my team is much larger than a typical agency, right? So that brand manager manages 8 people. PPC specialist, SEO specialist, catalog, Amazon generic specialist times 4, copywriter, designer, and the list goes on. And so we figured out that for us, we could make more money as an agency by making the strategist go from one thing to another, strategizing, delegating, bring around a project manager to delegate out the delivery, but keep the strategy at that account manager, brand manager level, just like you mentioned. So that was a big aha moment for us. It took me a long time to get out of the account director seat. When Dustin Fenton joined my Amazon guy 3.5, 4 years ago, he was the first successful account director at my company. And he was able to manage 26 accounts as an account manager. And that's what I was like, oh man, anybody that can manage 20 plus accounts, that's an account director. Now, and by the way, all his clients were happy. They were long-term paying customers, very little complaints, if at all ever, right? And so, but once I had him in place, I was able to go to 80 accounts very quickly. And then at that point, I was like, Ken, I need a 30 account director to get the next 40, et cetera. So a lot of clients will attach themselves to the founder, to the CEO, and you have to set expectations to transition out of that at some point if you want to.
Yeah, because if they know they depend on you, and they always say, I want to talk with him only, and you don't talk with the team.
So I long ago made a decision that I was going to stop being client facing, and I can at 400 accounts. And I basically said, you're no longer hiring Stephen Pope. You're no longer hiring just a guy, even though I made a poor choice and named my Amazon guy, right? Which I thought I was just going to be a consultant when I made the name in the laundry room talking to the wife. You know, she asked me like, how do you normally get introduced to people? And I was like, nobody gives a crap who I am. They just care that they got an Amazon guy. And I was like, okay, that's the name, done. Right. And it's been a really strong, powerful brand name. I've been able to coattail off the name of Amazon. And I'm not changing it. I'm pretty happy with it. But anyway, so it's about expectation setting. You're no longer buying Stephen Pope. You're buying the Stephen Pope system.
Or the seamless process.
System in my case, because I am a system builder and a system predates a team. You have to have a system or the team can't function. So that's been my secret to success and how I've done it. There are many ways to run an agency. I've seen all kinds of models. I've seen generalist models. I've seen specialist models. But you have to figure out your personality and how it's going to work for you.
I see it most as you see it as a team. I think it's like a wheel that it's combined with different functions that finally get a good performance on the project. Okay.
So we gotta go to our next guest, but hopefully that was helpful. It was great talking with you. And thanks for coming on. We're going to bring in Kevin. Kevin, who's our next guest?
All right. So our next guest is going to be JK. JK, thank you for letting us know a little bit about your agency beforehand. So for those of you who are waiting, if you could, please post your question in the private chat, just so we know ahead of time what we're bringing on.
Thank you, Kevin. And by the way, guys, we're going to post, I'm going to try and answer some written questions at the end after we run out of live guest interviews, but I'm going to be prioritizing our live guests today. All right, JK, you're on mute, sir. If you want to come off mute and ask your question.
There we go.
Perfect. Hey, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for putting this on. You're getting me at the time of day where the sun is perfectly right on my face. Yeah. So we have a a product sourcing agency. We've been running it for 18 months.
That is one of the hardest, dirtiest jobs, by the way. God bless you.
Thank you. That's why we're trying to position ourselves differently. I always got irritated as a brand owner trying to find products, and there was just such a lack of transparency, just kickbacks at every turn. So we're trying to come into this space as a bright light, but that wasn't my question. The question I want to ask.
Okay, set up the context. It's helpful.
Yeah, okay, all right. Setting it up.
People want to know, like, where's the question coming from? Like, who are you? It's helpful.
Sure. Okay, great. So yeah, we've been running our own brand, our own Amazon brand for going on 7 years. And our specialization, like we're really, really good at sourcing. We have our own team in China. My background is everything China related. I went to university in China. So it's my wife and I, who's Chinese. We started this small
That's a huge
agency.
edge, by the way. You've niched yourself successfully with some really good edges.
Yeah. Well, we thought we were well positioned to go into the space, and not just that, we enjoyed it, which is important. So we like connecting with clients. We like to see their businesses grow and them getting good prices because of what we do. But so the question is, we've kept our agency purposely small because I wasn't sure where it was going to go. For the longest time, I was like, okay, this is fun.
How small are we talking? Like, give me an employee count.
Well, employees between the brand and we have 5 full-time, including myself.
Yeah, so boutique, for sure.
Yeah, exactly, boutique. And we have like 3 to 4 part-time on an as-needed basis, kind of project basis. So we kept it small. We've had between 5 to 10 clients purposely for the longest time. And it seems as soon as we want more clients, we're generally able to find them with little effort. Like word of mouth has been big. And we're at the point now where I see we could grow this quite a bit bigger if we wanted to. Now, what I've seen in the last 18 months at the same time is there's a bit of a lack of consistency in revenue, because some months you have a ton of people coming to you with projects and they need help. They need you to do X, Y, Z. Other months, like in the summer, people, they're not working as hard on their business overall, and it goes quiet.
So you have a seasonal business, is what I'm hearing you say.
I've learned I have, to an extent.
So there's 2 choices from my experience, and this is true for Amazon sellers selling seasonal products as well.
Right.
Either A, embrace the seasonality, or B, pad the seasonality. Right. So either you hire up and staff up for the seasonality and then get smaller and go on vacation when it's low, right? And then you got kind of a lifestyle brand where you can work sometimes, but not all the time. Okay. Right. Option 2, pad for seasonality. And there's a lot of ways you could pad, by the way. You could create seasonality with a different type of seasonality, different type of business vertical on the other half of the year or whenever it's, dull, right? So my agency is not seasonal. I grow 8% every single month. Everybody always needs somebody to come in and manage the catalog, manage the PPC, the SEO, and the design work, right? Having said that, there is a churn velocity in society that rotates together. So for example, I have seen high amounts of signups and cancellations correlate together. So even though I don't have a seasonal business, there are spikes, there are hills and valleys, so to speak. So it's not unusual for every agency to experience that. The smaller you are, the harder it is to manage that roller coaster, right? And so right around, you said 5 to 10, that's doubling going up and down. That's a lot, right? So what do you want to do? What do you feel is the right direction?
Well, the question I'm really thinking on right now, so 5 to 10 is manageable. Like 10, we're at 10 right now. Like 10, we just hit 10. I think it was yesterday. My team and I were kind of celebrating. Okay, we got to 10. I guess that's where we want to be. But I feel we can bring it to 20. The complexity is 20. We have our systems. We have our SOPs set up. We're building those as time goes on. But now I'm thinking, do I make my next hire or do I wait? Because there is that lack of consistency, right? it tends to go up and down. And I'm still learning about the seasonality. It's only been 18 months. So that could have just been dealing with those particular clients, and it may change. But yeah, so I guess the question is, and I'd be curious to hear from you, what your trajectory was early on and what your thoughts were on scaling your business, and if consistency was a factor in that, or was your revenue quite consistent early on that you were comfortable diving in?
I've always known that I want to grow nonstop. The absence of growth is death for me as a human being. Like inside, like spiritually speaking, I degenerate if I'm not growing.
Yeah.
So I had a very big mission that I was going to become one of the largest Amazon agencies. Today we gross over 20 million a year. We very well might be the largest in terms of brand counts. So that was my vision. That was my mission. You have to decide what your mission, your vision is going to be. And once you understand what you want, then it becomes, how do I get it, right? What are the steps that I'm going to take? So if you told me I want to get to 20 clients, what are my next steps, Stephen? I can give you an answer to that. Is that what you're trying to accomplish, or help me narrow it down?
I think what I'd like to accomplish with this is, yes, I'd like to grow it to 20 clients. And I've gotten to the point where the initial question of, I wonder where this can go has been answered, as in it can go anywhere I want it. And we have a good team.
Isn't that the nice thing about being an entrepreneur, is you can go any direction you want?
Yeah, it's great.
Isn't it also the worst curse ever?
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
So it's challenging with that in mind.
Yeah.
So where do you think you want to go, or you know, what do you hate doing? Let's start there. What do you do right now that you just hate?
With the agency?
Yeah.
I don't know. Nothing. Maybe reviewing SOPs. I mean, SOPs is like a necessary evil, right?
It is.
So you got to make them, but are they fun to make? Not really.
Not for you and me, but for one guy in the company, it is. And that was my Dustin Fenton, right? That was my first account director. So I'm going to bring out on the screen. So I sell SOPs today. If you're an Amazon agency, this is a little commercial plug, myamazonguide.com/SOP. And we can sell you the SOPs that we spent $2 million making, 450 of them, how to do all of the things you see on screen here. Now, obviously, this isn't going to help JK because he's a sourcing agency. But the point I'm making is that he could go out and find somebody's SOPs on how to run a sourcing agency. And, you know, some of them might be too generic. Maybe they're not unique enough to help you. But over time, you could do one of two things. You could go source SOPs and buy them, or you could hire somebody that loves making SOPs. If that's the number one thing you hate, you just answered your question. How am I going to grow this year? Your next hire, SOP Specialist. Okay. So now you know your seventh employee hire or whatnot. Hopefully that's helpful to send you in the right direction, JK. Any other follow up on that, or are you good to go?
No, I thought that was pretty good. Yeah, I think the main takeaway for me was your question about where do I want it to go, and I need to think a bit more on that because I've gotten to the point.
Tough question.
Yeah, it is, but you realize at a certain point that you do have a lot of control, and I find, unlike the brand business, which has been really up and down over the years, it feels like the sourcing agency can be a much more reliable revenue stream. So it's
I found the same thing. I got my Age of Sage brand to $1 million brand, but I would have to put in 10 times the resources to grow my physical brand as it would take me to just put up another YouTube video on YouTube and generate another client giving me an extra $5,000 a month, right? Like, it's a no-brainer where I should spend my time. It's, Alex Hormozi, I just got his new book, right? I'll pull it up on screen here, the $100 million leads. And some people are fans, some people are not. But the point is that he talks a lot about vehicles, right? When he was first going over gyms, his vehicle was super small. Then when he started selling to gyms, how to sell and get clients, his vehicle got much larger. So for me, a brand is a small vehicle, but an agency is a large vehicle for me. And you may be experiencing something similar.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you so much, Stephen. Thanks
for coming on. Appreciate it. Kevin, who do we got coming up next?
All right, so I am excited that we have Sean. Sean's got an agency with about 45 people. He's got a few questions
Welcome,
to ask for
Sean.
Scalability.
Hi.
All right,
Good-
thanks, Kevin.
Good day. Good evening. Thanks for having me on.
Where are you calling in from, by the way?
I'm phoning in from or dialing in from Hamburg in Germany.
All right.
Our agency has offices in Cape Town, back office in Cape Town, similar to your Philippine office, I think.
Filipino office. All right. Well, hello to everybody over in Germany. I'm down here in Atlanta, Georgia.
Nice. Super. So the question is, I think this is a common problem, but we battle with making significant profits at year end, even though we grow client acquisition each year quite significantly. We've brought in a strategist role. We have client success managers servicing customers. We have really worked on our onboarding.
I want you to take 2 minutes, giving me as much context as possible, but I already know the answer to your question is going to be raise prices. So with that, keep going, and we'll work our way to that answer.
Okay, interesting. Thank you. So we're really doing all the right things to try and service the customer, give them the right strategy, give them the right onboarding, try and assess risks up front, walking them through implementation processes, getting them into monthly management, advertising, etc. And then we tend to overservice the clients in order to keep them. We have a problem with actually retaining the customers year on year. And so it feels like filling the sausage machine each year with new clients, and only a certain number of children survive.
Yes. So I have a high churn model, and there is a certain point in time when your value to the brand goes down. So in your instance, you mentioned over delivery. If you want to make more money, let the clients go, or charge more to begin with. Right. So if you have, do you know what? You don't have to share anything you don't want to live here. But my average MRR, monthly recurring revenue, is $3,700. Do you know what yours is?
Yes.
Do you have clients that are in your bottom 10% that you could fire and probably sleep easier at night?
Definitely.
Is it hard to fire them?
Normally.
Very, right?
Yeah, especially when you've worked so hard to get them and get them to a point, I suppose.
Yeah. So regardless of what your contract says, there is going to come a moment in time where you say, do I want to be in a nonprofit agency, or do I want to be in a profit agency? And if you and you and I both know, you're going to come up and say, I want to be in a profit agency. You're not a do-gooder in the world. You're not saving babies. You're not creating clean water down in Cape Town, right? But what you are doing is providing value. So you're undervaluing your delivery if you're not profitable enough, right? So what would surprise a lot of people is the profit margin that I operate under at MAG. It is close to 50%. And at my scale, that's a lot of profit. And so the ways that we've been able to do this is every year we say, hey, how is the best way to make more money? Sometimes it's to raise prices. Other times it's
which we have done once or twice.
Other times it's to find a different client who can bear the price, right? So if you and I don't mean to make this a Alex Hormozy podcast, but he talks about this very question, right? Like, go watch his video he posted yesterday. In fact, he talks about how if you're in the car cleaning business, if you start cleaning Buicks, you're going to make X dollars. But if you start cleaning Ferraris, you're going to make 10 times that, right? And so sometimes you have to go upstream on the clientele as you grow the agency. Now, in my instance, I actually didn't go upstream as much as I thought I was going to have to. I thought I was going to have to go enterprise level and only sign 20K deals. I thought that was the direction I was going to go. I had MAG Elite in the back pocket ready to roll, trying to figure out how I was going to go upstream. In reality, that $3,700 MRR average client was the sweet spot. High churn model, right? Like very high churn model, right?
Can I ask what it is roughly?
Yeah. So I would say the average churn with, this is counting all statistics, is 8 months. 8 months. Now I have clients that have been with me for 5 years. My first client is still with me. But because of my aggressive sales process where we take on a lot more riskier brands, we don't guarantee sales for these brands. We do offer a grand slam deal, and we do have some guaranteed contracts under certain conditions. But for the most part, we'll take on a client and be real with them. We'll say, hey, man, the chances of success here are like 33%. But if anybody can do it, it's us, right? And we'll bat 33%, and that 33% will be super happy. Another 33% will be like, thanks for trying. And the other 33% will be like, you're the worst agency ever. Right. And that happens no matter what we do. That's going to happen. I made the decision to accept that. There are some agencies that have made strategic decisions to limit who they take on. And they only go for a certain strike zone where they know they can hit that pitch every single time. Mine's more of a Babe Ruth model. I'm going to swing for the fences every damn time the pitch comes by. So, but we're going to be honest about which pitches we can hit. I know for a fact that if I take on a hemp client, the chances of success are like 10%. So I don't chase hemp clients. But if a hemp client came to me and said, okay, cool, I want 10% chance of success, I'll send them a contract, no problem. I know that there are certain categories that I do better with. I know that if I stick to home, beauty, supplements, outdoor, and sports, probably in that order, I'm going to do lots of business with them. I know that if I do grocery, that even if I do phenomenally well, their margins are so low that they're still going to fire me quicker than that 8-month churn, right? And so I'm not going to chase that business. I'll take it when it comes to me from an inbound standpoint. But I micro focus on the clients I chase. So hopefully that's helpful.
It is definitely. Can I ask you one more question?
Yeah, please.
With regards to contracting, any advice on the initial contract form, if you like? So some more and more agencies are that work.
Contract with clients or contract with employees?
No, with clients.
Okay. Keep going.
Now that you mentioned that, I might not ask you another question. But so contracting with the clients, more and more we're finding that there are agencies we're competing with who are offering a 3-month engagement and a rolling contract from then. That's what you do. Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly what we do. So do you do something different? What do you do?
Oh, we've tried a lot of different things. So we've had.
So by the way. Yeah, I felt the pain in your yes.
So we've tried 12-month agreements. We've tried month to month. We've tried typically if we're going to do an implementation piece, it's going to take 3 months anyway, depending on scope. And then if we're going to start an advertising engagement and we don't have anything to advertise to, it's going to be 3 months from then too. So if you're looking at a brand new client, we can probably justify a 6-month engagement to start off with. But if it's just advertising, we can take it today, and there's not necessarily a need for a long-term contract. So
what's your biggest problem with contracts?
I think our biggest problem is that we're getting better at it. We now have a contracts call, but the proposal is not specific about what we're going to do exactly.
For the first 4 years of my agency, I had the same contract. What I mean by that is very vague. The reason I did it that way initially is because no matter what you pitch on the call, you're going to go a different direction 8 out of 10 times when you get in and start looking at things and start doing things. And that's been my experience. As we became sophisticated, we decided to be very specific in our contracts. I honestly don't think one way is better than the other. At the end of the day, and here's why. At the end of the day, contracts are there to keep honest people honest. They will not affect a dishonest person, right? Like if you're doing business with a mom and pop shop, the second they want to cancel with you, they're going to cancel. They may even stiff you. They might do chargebacks. You might have done everything right, and they're still going to jerk you around, right? Like This stuff happens. This is part of a service-based industry.
Hmm.
And so part of what I have done from a philosophical standpoint is I don't try and force too much. I just try and get the bare minimums so I can staff accordingly. And then I basically let people know, I was like, look, I know that if I don't deliver value, you're going to leave. My job is to deliver value nonstop. And I teach my team how to do that. Our previous guest, I forgot, there was another thought I had from my previous guest about how strategy can be the number one thing that clients want. We actually yesterday had a 12-person meeting with all of our account directors, brand directors, where we strategized on things we could pitch our clients. We made a pitch sheet. We made this giant list of all of our ideas. We went down the list, and then we said, cool, which were the coolest you guys thought coming out of this meeting? Kind of like a Shark Tank of ideas. And so we voted, 3 ideas came to the top. I then went out and made 3 videos, 1 for each content piece. We then created SOPs, pitch docs, and then we delivered that to the brand managers to say, hey, here are things you could pitch, figure out which clients would benefit from this. Here you go. One of those ideas was Unkitting, which is literally taking, let's see what on my desk here, taking a 4-pack of soaps, but selling it as a single pack instead. Or the reverse of that would be taking a single pack and making a 4-pack and kitting it. That can double the sales depending on which brand you are. So things like that can be very valuable in the delivery. Now, back to your contract stuff. I would say the contract is not important. The relationship is. And you have to deliver value to that relationship or they will leave you no matter what the contract says. But one specific clause I put in my contracts is if you try and poach or try and hire one of my employees after hiring my company, you owe us $10,000. Now, I've never collected that money, by the way.
We have a similar one. It's a mutual agreement to not poach any talent.
But I have lost 2 account managers to some of my clients in the past.
Me too.
And it's very bad when that happens. It's an unethical move by the brand to do that.
Agree.
Because you've spent all this time training and managing the employee. Now, by the way, I don't own employees. They're not slaves. I try and create an environment where they can leave and do whatever they want. But this is the line that I drive with my SLAs, with my employees, and with my clients. You do not own the client. I own the client. You're here to service it. Any IP you do, I own while you're here as an employee. And client, you're hiring the system. You cannot take anything out of the system from a personal standpoint, but you get all the value of the system. This is the agreement we have coming into it. You accept this, cool, sign at the dotted line. I'll start delivering. But I don't have any non-competes. You can go, an employee of mine could go work for my number 1 competitor agency tomorrow.
Yeah.
By the way, it doesn't happen. Why? Because we treat our employees so well, they don't want to leave. Most of the employees that do eventually leave my company leave the industry or they leave the agency land and they want to go do something different, maybe their own Amazon brand, for example. So that's been my experience and what we do with contracts.
Thank you so much. Very insightful. I mean, I could ask you questions all day. So,
well, I appreciate it. We got a couple more people in queue, so we'll get to them. Sean, it was nice to meet you. Good luck over in Germany.
Many thanks, and keep well.
All right, we'll do. All right, so we're gonna plug just briefly here, just to let you guys know, we're working on a service called My Agency Guide. So the website is myguide.agency. Towards the end of our service today, we'll tell you a little bit more, but I just want to let you know there's a website to help me help other agencies. myguide.agency. myguide.agency. It's going to take a little getting used to. It's the first time I've had a domain name .agency. All right, so let's bring on Kevin. Who is our next guest?
Yes, so we have Pritesh. He had a couple of questions about content generation and predictable lead flow and sales engine.
All right, Pritesh, nice to meet you there. How can I help? What do you want to say?
Hi, Steven. Am I audible?
Yes.
Great, perfect. Steven, as a founder of the agency, the number 1 question I have is how do we create that predictable lead flow and sales flow? And I was hearing the entire discussion on, let's say, how you have a high churn model, which ultimately means that you need more clients onboarded every month, and on the top of it, you grow 8%. So that's even more. So how have you done it? I mean, whatever you can share, that will be really helpful. And second is what is the role of the content in it? And I mean,
content
that can
is
be
absolutely king in my model. So a lot of what we focus on is trying to provide transparency to our process. So I have over 2,000 videos I've listed on YouTube. We basically give away all of our trade secrets. Most of the people that hire us from an inbound standpoint will watch 20 videos. They'll call up our sales team. My dad is one of our inbound sales account executives. They'll be like, man, how cool is it to be Stephen Pope's dad? They talk for 20 minutes about that. Then it's like 10 minutes about their problem. And they're like, cool, I want to pay you money and sign the contract. And because they've watched 20 videos, the sales process is very different. They have a lot of comfort. They know what to expect. They know my philosophy. They know that if the people at my company don't also watch my videos and follow the SOPs and systems, that they can come back, link to the video and say, but you're not following what Stephen did, give me my money back. And that can happen. But it doesn't happen because I build the system so that my brand managers have all 450 SOPs on how to run the company with links to the videos and updates nonstop. We update an SOP like 2 times, 3 times a day. And we post updates in the Slack channel, depending on what it is. If it's a PPC SOP, we update it in the PPC channel in Slack. If it's a design one, in the design channel, and so forth. So that's, the content piece is so fundamental. Outbound, which is a relatively new component to our growth in the last 2 years. I mean, I hired my first outbound sales account executive in December of 2021. So like, it's not that old for me. It's barely coming up on 2 years. And so you can grow an agency to $6, $8, $10 million with zero outbound, zero ads, and just doing content. At least it worked for me. There are some agencies that go to conferences. I hate going to conferences. It is so taxing. You have to buy airfare, you have to book a hotel, and then you're losing sleep. You're changing time zones in many instances, and then you got to go buddy up with all the other people with a booth and walk the halls and talk to people. It's exhausting work. As a super introvert, that is super exhausting. It takes me a week to recover from that stuff. So instead of that, I just put up a ton of videos online, explain my full process, give it away all for free, and then there's a percentage point, somewhere between 1% and 3% of people who watch my content will end up becoming a customer. That model is scalable. That model works. We've had 4 million hits on the videos. That may seem like a small number, but they're hyper niche to our customers and who we're chasing. Other things you can do to make things more consistent is try and write down goals, KPIs for the week. Like, how many cold calls are you going to make this week? How many reach outs are you going to make? How many emails are you going to send out? How many meetings are you going to book? And write down the math to get that consistency built into the sales funnel so that you know what to expect. Operations is always going to be pissed off if sales is doing 100 deals one month and 0 deals the next month. They're like, I don't know what to count on. What am I supposed to do? Is it supposed to be 100 deals? Is it supposed to be 0? I don't know. What do I do? How many people do I hire? It can be very complicated when you go down that model and that path. So, there is some cyclical elements to this. There are some times when the churn is higher or lower. I always thought that December would be my strongest month for retention, and that everybody would be like, man, I need an agency to help me during Q4. It's actually the highest churn month because a lot of brands are like, I got all the work from you. I'm just going to take the profits now. And I don't care if I stock out, whatever. And so those things can happen. And I always thought January's would be a dead month for sales because, everybody's like just recovering. But in reality, it's one of our strongest because everybody's like, man, it's a new year. I got to start now, or, I'm not going to be able to make the Q4. So it can be cyclical. There can be some predictive elements. I don't know if that's helpful. Let me know how I did, Pradesh.
Oh, that was wonderful. A couple of follow-up questions. One is, I find it quite taxing to create content because of all the things that is happening, sales, hiring, account servicing, and so on and so forth. Would love to understand your process as to how were you able to create so much content.
Yes. So there are a lot of tools you can use to make content. You can use AI to figure out questions and stuff like that. But here's how I would start just for today. I want to give you something super micro actionable. what is the number one problem that your clients have that you solve? And I am asking you, go ahead and answer it.
Yeah. So we have three verticals. One is we do Amazon, we do search engine optimization, and we help them build data engineering and business intelligence dashboards.
Okay, so you have three very unique businesses. Pick one of them for the topic here. What is the number one problem they have that you currently solve?
So, for example, in search engine optimization, we help them grow their organic traffic and hence increase their organic revenue.
So that's what you do. What's the problem you solve?
The problem, we help them reduce their customer acquisition cost.
Okay.
That helps them grow their profit and grow their top line.
You have a video titled "How to Reduce Your Customer Acquisition Costs." And by the way, this is my puppy. He's biting me under the table right now. His name is Loki. So he's a little distracted. Awesome. If you see me playing on the table, I need to give him a chew toy or something. So do you have a video today that is literally titled "How to Reduce Your Acquisition Costs Using SEO"?
No, I don't. Yeah.
That's the next video you need to make. Every agency ever can come up with 100 content ideas if they do one of two things. Either A, write down the largest problem that every customer you have that you want to solve and make 7 iterations of content about it. Graphics, videos, tutorials, newsletters, blogs, emails, and hit it nonstop. Or option 2, this is how I did it when I first started, by the way. I didn't do option 1. I did option 2. Option 2, and my dog wants to make out with me right now. This is fun. Live on camera. So option 2, gotta love puppies. This is a Vizsla for the puppy lovers out there. And it's a very sweet breed. I actually used AI to pick the dog breed. Option 2 is every time you get a customer question that you don't have a piece of content for, create a video to answer it and then load that as your next piece of content. Okay. So if you had a customer question come in today, hey, how do I sell my business? That has nothing to do with my company. I don't service that, but I do have a partner I refer to. I make a video about how to sell your business, and here's the pitfalls and things that I've observed and the value that I can add. And here's the partner I recommend. And that's how you would do it. You just answer every single question you get from a customer. If you don't have a piece of content on it yet, make one.
I gotta watch your older videos to get what you are trying to say.
Yeah, there's some good ones. All right, Pritesh, it was great having you on. Thank you for coming on and being a guest. So Kevin, I think we're out of live guests behind the scenes. So we're going to go to some written questions. Before we do that though, we're going to do our agency guy pitch. So for the next 3 to 5 minutes, we're going to pitch you a service. This is the commercial break. And then after that, we're going to answer questions coming in from the contents. So Kevin, take it away.
Yes. So I am super excited that we're rolling out my agency guy. So as everyone's probably familiar, we like the format of my fill in the blank guy. It has worked out for us as a company. So we're going with my agency guy because we want to help Amazon agencies scale up to the next level. Because what's the phrase you always like to say, Stephen?
It's not me against you. It's all of us, including my puppy, licking my face against Amazon.
Yes. So let me go ahead and share my screen here real quick. Oops. There we go. So, that's your screen, not mine.
Yep,
Sorry about that.
Go ahead.
We are live, folks.
So tell me what you want to do, or share your screen.
I'll share. Actually, I'll let you take it. All right. So scroll down a little bit there. You see, we've got 3 programs, right where you're at. So we've got.
I took a photo shoot so you could see me shaped in various different sizes.
Exactly, in different poses. So basically, we've got 3 programs depending on what your needs are. So we've got the agency growth program, which what this program is going to do is walk you through soup to nuts, really everything we do as an agency with setting up systems, processes, hiring, scalability. A lot of the questions that were asked today are very in-depth going to be gone over in this program. So these are all self-study programs here where we've not, as an agency, gone over how to be an agency. And unfortunately, there's just not a lot of content in the market, especially for Amazon agencies. If you're an Amazon seller, you're almost drowning
way
in
too much
content.
content. You're like, where do I
yeah,
start?
Exactly. Where do I start? So there's no shortage of that. But if you're an agency, you might find stuff that really is more geared towards SEO agencies, or how to be an AI agency, or a Facebook SMMA. I think they use the term sometimes, but nobody's really saying, here's, as an agency in the Amazon world, what works. I have seen some other agency owners talk about it, but maybe they're doing $1 million in ARR, which is not bad. But my Amazon guy is doing 20 million. And one of the things that I've been doing a lot of research on this is I'm putting together a lot of the outlines for what we're going to be talking about here, is really in talking to Steven and listening to interviews Steven has done along the way, which I think a lot of agency owners can relate to this, that there is several hurdles you have to jump through to get to that next level. And you have to restructure and have the courage to restructure. But the problem is, how do you know how to restructure for that next level in the game?
We would reorg a department every 3 months at MAG. Every 3 months, we had to rebuild something, right? I went into the design team one time. I changed everybody's title. I changed everybody's duties. I redid the leadership structure and did it. And then 3 months later, I had to redo it again and pull it back. Instead of having a design leadership team, we pulled it back to the brand management team. So all of those mistakes, all of those learnings along the way are going to be available in this agency growth program. We also have a sales accelerator program. So some of the things I wasn't willing to answer live today is like, how do I get more outbound clients? And the reason for that is this is going to be the one secret behind the scenes sauce we're going to charge a lot more money for. And that's going to be part of our sales accelerator program. How to go get more clients, how to cold call, how to do some very secretive things that we do to get our clients, to get them interested, to get them to schedule meetings with us that you're not going to see anywhere else. It's part of that program. And then the third program, hey, you're an agency and you've already scaled. You just need a database. I'm going to sell you my database. Nobody's ever done this before. I'm going to sell you my full database with every Amazon seller, their contact information, their cell phone numbers, their emails, everything I've got in one database. But you have to pay a super high premium for that.
Well, Steven, you say that it's a super high premium, but
it's worth
I'm not
it,
just saying that because we're on this live stream, but internally, there's been a lot of debate because people are like, for that price, like that's less than, what you would cost with the database. That's less than what you would pay to start a Subway franchise.
Exactly. So yeah, pick up a McDonald's, a Chick-fil-A, or a Subway. You have to pay $250,000. Mm-hmm. I'm only going to charge $25,000, and that's going to give you everything you need to run an agency in the Amazon space specifically, with all of the potential prospects, with lots of hyper-specific CRM fields. You could filter it to your heart's desire. $25,000, big upsell, big price. Maybe you're on the beginning side. You just want to learn how some basics, $2,000 there. Somewhere in the middle, you don't need my database. You just need the sales process. Going to charge $10,000. By the way, we decided this price before I picked up the book for $100 million leads. This is exactly the pricing model that Alex Hormozy did when he started charging how to do his sales process at $10,000. Mine will be a lot more sophisticated and well-oiled out the gate than his was when he first started it. All right, so that's all we're going to do for our ad today. We're going to go answer some questions.
I want to say just one thing.
All right, real quick, because nobody wants to watch the commercial.
Real quick. If you think about the price of that, for most people listening to this, if they just got one extra client as a result of what they learned, it would more than pay for itself, even the top level one. And so if you think about that, and now you have a system that's set up to get you sales basically on autopilot, is it worth it to you? So that's a question I would ask for a lot of folks there. So anyway, I'll let you get some more questions.
So the website to go to learn more is myguide.agency. A little bit unique there. If you could pull the banner on screen here, I don't know where that ended up. There it is. I see it now. Okay, cool. We got an actual floating banner looking special.
Yes, this one goes to the same place. So whether you go to myamazonguide.com/agency or myguide.agency.
Yeah, I know. Okay. We're going to have to get that one straight.
They both go to the same place.
All right. So for the rest of the time, I'm going to spend the next 20 minutes or as long as my voice lasts answering written questions. and we're going to go through the list. Now, Kevin, you've already starred some of these. So is that the best way to do this? You just take a
I would
starred
go
one?
with some of the starred ones first.
Okay. All right. So you're gonna read the. I'll do this one solo. You just pull them up on screen, and we'll go from there. All right. So first question we got coming from Solus. I don't know how to say that. Hi, Steven. In the beginning, how did you generate leads for your agency? I admire your marketing funnel. So the way that I did it is I started making YouTube content. Anytime a customer asked me anything, I would make a piece of content to answer their question, and then I would publish it live without a fail. And I would never do 2-shot takes. I would never edit my content. It was like, you got a question, I can answer it in 5 minutes between now and my next meeting. I'm going to answer it with a video, and I'm going to publish it on YouTube. That is how I generated over, I think it's like 7,300 inbound contacts in my first 3 years of business, something like that. Did very, very well. Jeff asks, how do you evaluate what tools you use for your clients? Keyword, advertising, AI, etc. We test literally everything. I'll take like 3 pitches a week. It's not very fun to do, to be totally honest, because there's a lot of bad product out there, bad options. We are married at the hip to certain tools. So for our clients, we're married to Slack. If you want to have a chat conversation with us, we're not going to pick up WhatsApp. We're only going to use Slack. We can monitor it in Slack. We have systems built around Slack, et cetera. We currently use Helium 10 as our main service provider for keyword tracking. But the moment another keyword tool comes out and serves agencies better, like ZonGuru is getting close, I'm going to jump ship from Helium 10 and go over to that tool, because Helium 10's product is getting worse every single 6 months. I see them make an update, make it harder for agencies to use the software, and I hate it. And they don't listen to me, so they're going to lose my business at some point. But right now, they still have the most powerful keyword tool on the market, keyword tracking tool. They're coming out with new features. I do like them. I do have an affiliate deal with them, but I'm also honest about how I evaluate them. That's part of my brand, is to do honest takes. So I do a lot of cold videos where I go into somebody's tool. Like, I'm a big fan of Smart Scout. I did cold videos for them. In fact, if you type Smart Scout into Google, you'll probably see my videos. They're for a very different clientele. They're for wholesale models, retail arbitrage models. That's where they're kind of focusing instead of the private label. So that's how I kind of figure out how to do this for clients, Jeff. But by and large, I try and avoid charging clients for tools or providing them something that we could do for them on their behalf. We use Merchant Spring for our reporting. Very happy with Merchant Spring. They do a great job. If you're an agency and you want an intro over to Merchant Spring, send me an email to podcast@myamazonguy.com. I can't say high enough things about how they do their dashboards and reporting. It's been a godsend. We used to put like 4 full-time VAs building out Google Sheets and emailing them all of our clients on Mondays. And there would be errors and there'd be all kinds of challenges. And then people want custom reports. Merchant Spring did that all for us. Along the way, I tested a bunch of tools that failed for us. I spent $2 million building a software that I never took live. A lot of problems in the software world. Big JJ says, what's the best way to compose and cut the fat off SOPs? Okay, so simpler is better. Give them the exact steps and create a chain of events. Start here, go down this list. There may be sections. You can create like a subheader of sections where you can click which step you're on at any given time. Written SOPs are far superior over video demonstrations, because video demonstrations can't be edited in post. Things change. So we use videos as like a strategy conversation, but we use written instructions on the tutorial how-to steps. Also, if it's not at a 5th grade reading level, it's not good enough. If you can't give it to a brand new employee and they succeed, your SOP is not good enough. A lot of thresholds for that. What's your stance on poaching clients from competitors? I personally will target all brands. I'm agnostic about who they work with. I will hit them all. I probably have a lot of enemies that I don't even know about because we've taken a client from them. I'm not worried about this because I offer a lot of value to the world. And when somebody loses a client to me, they might say, yeah, I could probably do better. They might watch some of my content, hopefully, and get better at what we do and maybe mimic it. But I don't think anybody needs to worry. Now, we don't ever have a campaign to go after a particular company and try and hit them. That I'd say is off the table. But as far as I'm concerned, you know, agencies don't own the client. They don't own the brand. It's not a slavery relationship. If you target a brand, ask pointed questions, and can add value, you're going to do great. Now, I will tell you this. I would say about 60% of the brands that start with us have never used an agency before. That number is going to be shocking to a lot of people listening to this. 60% of brands have never used an agency when they hire my Amazon guy. What does that tell you? That tells you the market has not figured out how to get a hold of these brands, which is why you should buy my agency guy service to get the database. Because I'm telling you, there's a lot out there. They're not all good fits for me. A lot of space in the system for you. I mean, I don't know how many data contact points we have, but it's in the hundreds of thousands. Theo says, are you training people to compete with you? Technically, yes. However, I think the space is so large that it's okay. I also think that I will make just as much money servicing an agency as I will as a client, with the nice benefit that it's a one and done service, and I'll make the same amount that I would on a client over 12 months. So if somebody takes the data that we provide or the tools that we provide, and then they poach one of my clients, I'm okay with that. I hope you don't, honestly, but it will probably happen. Not a big deal. I'm going to go to Adel. Do you think it's better to run an Amazon agency based on one skill than all? This is a generalist versus specialist question. For example, a PPC agency versus a one Amazon agency, PPC, SEO, inventory management. By the way, what we decide as full service, PPC and SEO are your traffic generation. And then on the other side, conversion elements like design and catalog management, which I'd include inventory in, can be very challenging. It is significantly harder and lower margin to do all of it. If you're a specialist, you can charge a premium. You'll be smaller, but you'll have a higher profit margin. So what do you want to be? Do you want to be a big behemoth? You want to do what my Amazon guy did, offer all kinds of services? I sell trademarks, for crying out loud. I sell clawback services, my refund guy, where we go out and get clawback services out of Amazon sales. We have all kinds of add-ons. We do a la carte. We do coaching. We have all kinds of things that most agencies wouldn't even touch. So, but I can tell you right now, it's easier for me to win a deal with a random prospect because I almost always have a service that they need. Versus if you're PPC only, you only are going to hit a very small segment of the business. You're going to be niching down. You're going to have challenges because they're going to have a problem with their main image and you can't solve it with your PPC. So that's the trade-off. Profit margin or larger business. Pick one, can't have both. Let's go to Melissa next. Ideal estimated annual revenue of most of your clients needing an agency to manage their Amazon account. I would say $50K a month would be the most ideal revenue figure. That is where we can add the most maximum value. So we'll work with like a blue collar brand. Let's say they make motorcycle aftermarket parts for Harley Davidson, whatever. And that brand, who's never hired an agency before, is at $50K a month. We can come in and get them to $100K a month in about like 90 days, frequently more often than not, and add massive value. The guys that already get $1 million per month, we can add a lot of value for them, but it's way trickier. They're typically omni-channel. They may be a little bit more skeptical about some of the things we're doing. They may not believe in the process. They may not watch 20 videos before hiring us. There may be a longer sales cycle. So there's some trade-offs to what you're going for depending on that. But I would say like my very, very favorite client to hire my Amazon guy, $50K a month to $100K a month, somewhere in that range. I have the highest close rate. I have the highest value prop imaginable. But we love taking larger clients. We take large deals all the time. I have clients that pay me $20K a month. They're just a lot harder to acquire and add as much value. Better to charge a monthly fee compared to a percentage of a client's commission or revenue. No wrong answer to this. My Amazon guy does both. We have a hybrid model. I created an equation. And by the way, we're going to make available a copy of how we charge our clients as part of our higher tier package. Let's do the mid tier on that one, Kevin. We'll provide a copy of our calculator to how to pitch clients and our exact model and how we pitch them. We'll give you a copy of it. You can figure out how to customize it yourself. We've created a calculation or equation. No matter how many SKUs, how big your business is, and how much service you want, we know how much to charge. And we do a combination of rev share plus a flat rate. There are some exceptions to this. But that by and large is 90% of the deals that we offer. And the reason for that, if you do pure commission, you do a lot of work up front, the client won't pay that commission check 6 months down the road, and they will fire and screw you. So there has to be some skin in the game up front. At the same time, if you do just a flat model, you don't have any incentive to over deliver. And then you'll end up like one of our guests today over in Germany who over delivers and can't get that revenue share component to help pad the value offer down the line, 12 months down the line. So you need a combination, in my opinion. But every model is different. Every agency has a different value prop. So it depends on who you are. If you're a PPC agency, a percentage probably won't make sense. Percentage of revenue, percentage of ad spend. That model is indicted. You'll get a lot of criticism. Your sales process will be harder. So it's often typically better to pitch a flat model in some particular niches. But when you're doing full service, I think it's very appropriate, flat model plus a revenue share component to equalize the work up front and the value on the back end. All right, so I'm looking for the next starred one. We got Sean asking, how do you manage staff contracts to use contracts or have full-time equivalents? So we do what's called an SLA, service level agreement, or job offer if they first start out, and then SLA every signature following that. We also have an employee handbook. The employee handbook has probably gotten a lot longer than I like it to be. I prefer like the Netflix model before Netflix went woke, where they were like, do what's in the best interest of our company at all times. And that was like the policy. And then there wasn't any written line by line. However, at my scale, we've become a defensive organization, not an offensive organization. And so rules typically are beneficial in a defensive organization. And so our culture shifted on that question quite a bit. But by and large, it's 1 or 2 pages with the service level agreement. Here's a list of your expectations. Hopefully there's some SOPs that are also in the SLA and some instances of what you're going to be doing, how to do it. And then that way you can go back and pull up the SLA 2-6 months down the road. Are you following this? If not, does it need to be updated? If you can't follow it, are you a good culture fit, et cetera, et cetera. We also have core values at My Amazon Guide, which you can access publicly at myamazonguide.com/core. And it's actually kind of fun sometimes when you see your core values show up on LinkedIn and other people's content, which happened yesterday. Here are our core values: learning, eagerness, tech savvy, consistent communications, and traction. These 2 right here were rebranded about 2 weeks ago. And then manager values: multiply yourself, 1 + 1 = 3, soft on the people, tough on the issues, extreme ownership, which is after that book, radical candor, also another good book, traction is a book as well. I've increasingly been rebranding core values over time to focus on a book title. So that way they have some pre-baked branding that go with them. You can then give your employees those books and say, do what this book says. That's the culture of MAG. And that's how I've been able to build this out and not have too long of a contract, so to speak, with our staff. All right, Nimra says, what client acquisition system do you use at your agency? We do use HubSpot. I'll be honest, I'm also looking at Salesforce right now. Salesforce just gave me a 60-day free trial. God bless them. I haven't logged in yet because I'm having login issues that I'm talking to their sales team about. I know nothing about Salesforce. I hear good things. There's a third one out there that recently came across my radar. I forget the name of the top of my head that I'm also looking at. HubSpot's been around the block, but they're the dinosaur. Salesforce, technically a dinosaur. I don't know who's innovating these days. But I got to tell you, like, for example, HubSpot doesn't have a specific app that I want integrated, but Salesforce does. Things like that might affect my decision on where I'm going. At the end of the day, you need a CRM, a customer retention management system, where you put client information and everybody can access what pertains to their role. That way you can keep track of their life cycle, their contract, and how to manage that relationship. No just asks, hey, Steven, how do you generate leads and get them to book meetings? It is a compelling offer, convenient payment structure. Do you deploy some testimonials or case studies? So I'm going to be super secretive, unfortunately, about this question. And the reason for that is because it is secret sauce. I am very transparent with everything I do. On this one question, I cannot answer it because I'm going to charge you $10,000 to answer that one question. So no, just I apologize. I apologize to everybody I'm pissing off right now by saying you got to pay me 10 grand to answer this question. But that is the one thing I'm not going to publicly talk about. You're going to have to pay that money to find out the answer to that one. I'm so sorry. Nimrod says, for Amazon SEO, listing optimization, and PPC, any more learning material which you can recommend except your MAG courses and YouTube videos? Yes. So myamazonguy.com/SEO is a free resource. It has some of my best content I've ever made. We include our SEO phase 1 guide. Looks like that's not loading. Kevin, send that over to the website team urgently. We have a masterclass, 70 minutes long, where I revealed my entire search engine optimization process. And it's got timestamps. We've got all kinds of tips. I walk through SEO phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. This is also over at Mag School as well. We have graphics where we talk about the order of priority and why Yoshi's going to get the Goomba if they go 1, 2, 3 in that specific order. A bunch of content there. We also have myamazonguy.com/PPC, which has more content around the PPC question. It's got a free 70-minute masterclass there as well, and other goodies that are available. We also have our SOPs at myamazonguy.com/SOP, which I don't know what the count is, but it's probably somewhere between 50 and 75 PPC SOPs and like 20 SEO SOPs. So if you're trying to get a plug and play option, you can buy our SOPs for $1,000, turn it over to your team, and they will immediately start adding value to your account. All right, I'm starting to lose my voice. Let's see how many more of these I can get through. David says, my Amazon guy, why should you still bill as a percentage of ad spend, please? So I was actually saying most likely not do that. Because most brands are going to say, hey, that's not in my best interest, right? If I charge 7% of ad spend, then you're going to be incentivized to spend more, not optimize it below a certain ACoS, but just spend as much as humanly possible. So generally speaking, you got to find a good way to find a flat model cost on PPC, but some PPC agencies do charge successfully a percentage of ad spend, and there's some reasons to do it, or some ways to do it correctly. How do you generate and convince them to book meetings with you? Oh, we skipped that one. That's right. Forged from Frieden says, how do you handle disgruntled clients? That's a great question. You have to acknowledge their complaint and tell them that you have read it, that you've understood it, whether you're taking it as a call and listening to it, or whether you're getting an email, right? So I have 400 clients. Anybody that tells you that they have no disgruntled clients is lying to you. I can tell you right now that there are probably at least 10 clients right now that are thinking about firing me right now. That is normal, right? And there's various reasons for that. It could be a missed delivery. It could be a lack of value. It could be a tenure issue. It could be all kinds of challenges. So eat crow is probably the most important thing that you can do as a service provider. It is your job as an agency to eat and shovel shit all day long, right? You're in a service provider position where it is your job to serve the brand. That doesn't mean dehumanize yourself, because guess what? God bless the trash man. God bless the guys that take care of our sewer system. God bless the plumbers. God bless all kinds of roles that service provide high need, complicated, and dirty jobs. Agencies are dirty jobs. They are very much the micro dirty jobs of the Amazon space, of the digital marketing space. So eat crow, admit the problem, acknowledge the problem, and then most importantly, tell them how you're going to meet their concern. In some instances, you cannot. For example, we fired a client this week that we sent a personalized 7-minute video to and told them what we thought was wrong with their account and how we were going about fixing it. And we did it in a way that was actually out of our scope. We was a PPC only client. We told them that we thought there was a catalog issue and a design issue that needed to be addressed. And that client replied back, "You have insulted me." So we said, "Hey, we're sorry we insulted you." He was a disgruntled client. "We don't think it's a good fit to work together, and today will be our last day together." If a client tells you that you have insulted them, there is almost nothing you can do to fix that, right? Same thing during the sales process. If you insult somebody to gain their business, you tell them that their Amazon listing looks like crap, chances are they're not going to hire you. Nobody wants to be told their Amazon listing, their baby, looks ugly, right? So admit the problem, try and meet the concern, and the most important part, even more important than the previous most important part, answer their query as quickly as possible. If you're in back-to-back meetings, you can't get to it, at least acknowledge with a one line. Hey, I acknowledge receipt of your concern. I'm going to respond to you by end of day tomorrow, end of day today, whatever it might be. But set the expectation so that they can stop thinking about it. A customer complains because they want to get it out of their head, right? They don't necessarily want compensation. They just want it addressed sometimes, right? They want it fixed. They want it solved. So those are the challenges that I would recommend. All right. Got a couple more, and we're going to end it here in a couple minutes. By the way, today we set a broadcast record for most live viewers today. Thank you all for helping us out. If you liked today's broadcast, do me a favor, slam that like button, add a comment with the number one thing that you learned, and help everybody else, because they're going to, people that are going to view this next week or the week following, they're going to see your comment, what you learned, and they'll be like, oh, that's really interesting. And then they're going to go to the timestamp and find more about us. So slam the like button, add a comment if you like today's broadcast. David says, how do you approach a client who's gone quiet on you before contract renewal, despite feedback on performance being very positive? Okay, one of two things is happening. Either A, they don't plan to renew and they're shopping you, or B, they're trying to figure out how to get you to keep delivering without signing another tenured agreement. So you have to be subtle about this renewal process, right? I would go on full offense and say, hey, it's time to renew contract. Tell them exactly what you're trying to do and why. Here is all the value we've provided you during the time you've been in a contract with us, and here are the next steps. And then send that. Send it in writing, show up to the next meeting, talk about it, ask them how they would like to proceed. If they ghost you, and it's been a couple weeks, let them know how things will proceed if they don't renew with you. Hey, sounds like you don't want to renew. Our last day would prospectively be XYZ unless you renew with us. Is that what you would like to do? And then that's called labeling. And you tell them that you think they don't want to renew. A third option would be don't say anything and just let them go out of contract and just keep delivering, and hopefully they pay their bills. But the problem with that is they're not obligated to pay their bills because they're out of contract. So make the decision that makes the most sense for each client and act accordingly. Vadem says, Stephen, would you say posting content in YouTube and other platforms has been the best lever you've pulled in terms of agency growth and getting leads? Yes, up until 2021. In 2022, I turned the spigot on for outbound sales. I cracked the code. And today in 2023, 60% or greater of my MRR gains is coming from outbound. And I have a process that I figured out, which I am selling to you for 10 grand at myamazonguy.com/agency if you'd like to learn more about how to do that. But what I am sharing publicly is my inbound process. I'm going to share that publicly. Make lots of content, answer customer questions with content. Video preferably has worked the best for me. LinkedIn has done okay. Twitter, Instagram, some of those other channels I haven't cracked yet, by the way. But email, I've cracked YouTube, I've cracked LinkedIn, and I'm a top influencer on those platforms. So yes, that is how I grew to my first $10 million in revenue, was through content. You're very welcome for answering today. Again, we're wrapping up our show. If you like today's podcast, hit that like button, add a comment with the favorite thing that you learned today. We may do another one of these. This was very popular. We had a lot of interaction, a lot of guests. I couldn't get to every question that was asked, but we thank you for coming in and showing up today. And my name is Stephen Pope. I'm the founder of My Amazon Guide, which you can see a sign right here. And we're pitching services. If you want to learn more, go to myamazonguy.com/agency to get additional help to grow your agency. We've got 3 tiers available. 1 tier is available for self-learning. And the highest tier will sell you our database, which is kind of cool, right? All right. Thanks for watching. Thanks so much. You've been great. Kevin, thanks for putting this together. I think we might have to do another one of these AMAs for agencies.
I think we do. This was more popular than I even thought it was going to be. And I was optimistic about it.
Yeah, very, very good. So myamazonguy.com/agency. If you want to hire us now, I want to be the Alex Hormozi of agencies for Amazon. So I think I can be. I think I know some things that he doesn't over on this side. Kevin, what was your biggest takeaway?
My biggest takeaway that I think is one thing agency owners can do right this minute is literally write down what is the biggest problem you solve, figure out 7 ways to answer that question, and repurpose that content. Create a video, turn it into a blog post, turn it into a LinkedIn post, a Twitter thread, whatever. Get that done by tomorrow, and they could have results coming to them on Monday potentially out of what they did.
Just so you guys know, I have over 30 people on my sales team, and that gives you an idea of how well it's working. So hopefully you want to check that out with our Sales Accelerator program for $10,000. We'll teach you how to get your sales going. If you want to buy my database, $25,000. I know my top competitor is going to be purchasing this.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing is I already know we're going to have people who are going to be competitors. Hopefully they're at least honest in the process of who they are. When they
and by the way, if any clients are watching this, if you're an active client with me, I'm not selling your data. Just so we're clear. This is going to be all people except clients in that database. We need to put a disclaimer on that, just so we put that in there, Kevin, so we're honest. All right, that's the show today. My agency guy kicking off today, myamazonguy.com/agency if you guys want to check it out. Hopefully a few of you guys purchased the program, and we're going to deliver some awesome things to help you grow your agency. Thanks for watching. That's the end of our broadcast today.
Thanks, everybody.